Hello, Overwatch Season 7 comes out later today, so I figured I'd make a video of everything you need to know about the update and put together everything we've learned. So I think the first thing to just get out of the way is the 3,000 credit gift that you're going to be getting for logging in. If you log in for the first week of Season 7, you'll be given 3,000 credits because the challenges for the anniversary event did not work. So you're gonna get 3,000 credits now because instead of trying to fix the challenges, they just said, screw it, let's just disable the challenges, give people 3,000 credits the start of Season 7. And the anniversary SOP is still available if you want to get skins from it. I think they may also add new skins to it. In addition, there's also going to be a Halloween Terror specific credit SOP where you can get the new Gilded Hunter Sombra legendary skin, which is a recolor of the existing Demon Hunter Sombra skin, as well as a few other Halloween-themed skins, which KarQ could be included, could not be included, who knows. It'll probably just be a handful of skins from the last Overwatch Halloween Terror event. And because they're doing it for Halloween Terror, it makes it seem like having credit stores where you can use Overwatch credits to buy specific skins might be something that they do more regularly for different Overwatch events to kind of spice them up for people who don't want to pay $20 for a single skin from the store. So I think there's definitely nothing wrong with saving your 3,000 credits if you don't see anything that you particularly want. But before we get to Sombra, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Subscribing really helps the channel out, and maybe it'll let me get access to stuff earlier so I can have more better produced videos that I can actually showcase the new cosmetics and the changes by having access to both the new version of the game as well as the old version. Thank you. Next, to talk about the thing that I think everybody's going to hate, we have Sombra getting a complete overhaul. We now have the full patch notes for her, which are as follows. Her primary is getting its damage increased from 7.5 to 8. This will increase her damage per second output from 150 damage per second to 160 damage per second. Her minimum spread has been reduced from 0.5 to 0, and the number of bullets until max spread has been increased from 3 to 6. In addition, her reload time has also been reduced from 1.4 seconds to 1.2 seconds. So Sombra's primary getting a pretty massive buff will be much more accurate than it was before at the start and will just deal more damage. Hack is also seeing a bit of a change. The cast time has been reduced from 0.75 seconds to 0.65 seconds. Stealth will now be cancelled when you use hack, so you cannot hack while stealthed anymore. Using hack will now cancel out of your stealth while you are hacking the enemy hero. The cooldown on hack has been increased from 4 seconds to 6 seconds, and it has a reduced cooldown of 3 seconds if hack gets interrupted by any damage, or if you hack something that is not an enemy hero, such as hacking turrets or health packs. And also a bit of a quality of life change. The hacked text will now appear on your screen only when you are unable to use abilities. So if you get hacked, the hack text will go away as soon as you're able to use your abilities again, so it should be much easier to know when you can actually use those abilities. You'll just have to keep in mind that you're still going to have the rest of the hack debuff where you can be seen through walls, and the Sombra can also see if you have your ultimate ability ready. Sombra's old passive Opportunist, this was what gave her wall hacks on enemies below 50% of their maximum health, as well as giving her bonus damage against hacked opponents. That has been completely removed. Now, Stealth has been reworked to be a passive for Sombra. She will automatically become invisible after 3.5 seconds while not shooting, not using a damaging ability, or not taking damage. However, the movement speed bonus for Stealth has been reduced from 60% to 45%, and the fade out and fade in duration have both also been reduced as well. And this is just the amount of time before you actually enter and exit Stealth. So both of these being reduced is a buff for Stealth. Also, just as a quality of life change, they updated the UI messaging so that when you hack a health pack, it will just say revealed instead of saying detected. The detected message is only used when an enemy player is actually within the detection radius of your stealth. Now for the brand new ability that I think is going to be incredibly annoying, we have Virus. Virus fires a projectile that damages an enemy over time. And unlike what we knew before, we now know that the damage dealt is just faster on hacked enemies. It does not deal more damage. The impact damage does get doubled, but the damage over time doesn't get doubled, it just deals the damage faster. So the impact damage normally is 10 damage. On a hacked target, it will be 20 damage. and the damage over time is 100 over 4 seconds for a non-hacked target, and 100 damage over 2 seconds if the target is hacked. Translocator is getting a massive amount of changes. It can now no longer be manually activated. It will now automatically teleport Sombra after 0.25 seconds from being thrown or when impacting the environment. It also reduces the stealth passive cooldown after teleporting, and this is basically instant. So as soon as you translocate, you will basically instantly go into stealth. And the projectile speed has been increased from 25 to 72. So you get a pretty decent amount of distance because C really just throws it, like, really hard. And also the cooldown has been reduced from 6 seconds to 5 seconds, which begins after Sombra teleports to the location of the transponder. And then also projectile launch initial vertical offset has been removed. And if anyone's wondering what this even means, it's not that important. It's just that before, when Sombra threw Translocator, it would be a little bit higher than the center of her screen. Now that has been removed so that if you are throwing Translocator, it will emerge from your model at the same height that your bullets and everything else do. And also, EMP finally getting nerfs. I think EMP was the most slept on ultimate in the entire game. It was incredibly good for how quickly C was able to get it. And the EMP changes are that the ultimate charge cost has been increased by 15%, and the health percent damage that it deals has been decreased from 40% of a target's current health to 30% of a target's current health. And also part of the changes is just because they gave her more damage, they increased the cost, because if they kept the cost the same, she would have been getting it a lot faster because of her increased damage. So I do think she will be getting her ultimate at about the same rate as she was before due to the increased damage, meaning she earns it faster, which offsets the increased cost of the ultimate. And honestly, I think that people are going to hate new Sombra, not in a she's bad kind of way, but more she's even more annoying than she was before. Before, Sombra was really like stealth assassin style character where she would go harass people, hack them, you know, just bait out resources and be a general annoyance. Sombra before was like a mosquito, sometimes dangerous, but basically you could never kill her because of how free Translocator made it for her to escape and just get to complete safety. I think Sombra now is going to be more like a suicide bomber. Translocator has been heavily nerfed, so it's not going to be good at flanking. You're probably going to want to be going in at the same time as your team does, and then trying to get stuff done with your massively buffed damage potential. So a much more active playstyle where you want to be engaging at the same time as your team, and if you do that, I think you'll almost always be able to guarantee a kill on someone just by focusing them down. The real question is if you'll be able to live after doing that, which is why I describe her as having more of a suicide bomber playstyle. Because Virus is kind of ridiculous if you think about it. It is 100 guaranteed damage over time on a character that can just appear behind you with stealth and also has a primary that deals 160 damage per second. I think that hack is honestly going to be kind of useless now. You're really only going to be using it against tanks and maybe specific support heroes that have abilities that let them not die. Because I think if you hack someone, like a Baptiste, if you throw Virus and then start hitting them with your primary, I think that might be enough damage to just straight up kill them before they're even able to use any of their cooldowns. Sombra before, I think that the Baptiste would barely have enough time to throw out their immortality field or use their regenerative burst so that they can keep themselves alive. But now with the 100 extra damage from Virus and the increased damage of Sombra's own primary, as well as the accuracy increase as well, it's not even mentioning that yet, I think that she will be able to just delete people from reality. It'll be harder for her to get out now, but like, you can almost force a trade in any situation, I think, unless something goes really wrong. So yeah, hack I think is just going to be used against heroes that have abilities that can help them survive, or against tanks, because fuck tanks, I guess. But yeah, I don't get a special premium access to this stuff like some other content creators do. So I don't know. I'll have to see once I get to play as new Sombra if she feels like she will be broken or if feels like she will be not that great. Now after the Sombra changes, let's go into all of the other hero updates. Orisa is seeing fortified, damage reduction decreased from 50% to 45%. Will this do anything? I don't think so. I think Orisa is a tank that isn't really that strong or overpowered. She's just very stable and very annoying to play against, because playing against an Orisa isn't as much playing against an Orisa. You're playing against her supports in her backline. Orisa tanks just by having naturally very high damage reduction and good damage reduction abilities, like Javelin Spin, that let her eat additional damage outside of her natural tankiness, all while just being pocketed and kept alive by her own backline. So playing against an Orisa is more about killing her backline rather than killing the Orisa. Orisa herself is just kind of a very obnoxious hero because she has so many different abilities that knock you around and stun you. Her ultimate pulls you in and slows you down. She has a spear that stuns you and can also stun you again and deal damage. She has Javelin Spin, which not only blocks damage for her and eats projectiles, it also can shove people around and prevent them from getting to her backline. Just a very obnoxious character to play against, and so people don't like it. I don't think she's necessarily broken. I don't think she's bad right now either, but it's a very delicate hero to balance because a lot of the reason people don't like seeing her is because she's just not fun to play against. Very annoying, very obnoxious, just a very not fun hero to be playing against. Next up, we have Ramatra being buffed for absolutely no reason. We have Nemesis Form's cooldown being decreased from 8 seconds to 7 seconds. I don't know why, but sir, go get it, queens. Ramatra stands rise up. Next up for Wrecking Ball, his quad cannons have seen the number of shots needed to reach maximum spread increased from 20 bullets to 30 bullets. And I think that this is a rather nice change for Wrecking Ball. It will make it a lot easier to confirm kills off of your pile driver because you'll just have much more consistent spread. Usually you didn't need all 20 bullets to confirm a kill after pile driver, but now it's going to be slightly more forgiving because you're going to have a bit more time before you have the really bad spread. Next up, we have Zarius being nerfed because I don't know why they decided she needed a buff anyways, but they're reverting the size of the particle bubble so that it's now the same size for both personal and allies, and the health has been decreased from 225 to 200. So now the only remaining part of the Zarya buffs that we got are the decreased cooldown, which is fine. I think that the Zarya buffs were unneeded and kind of way too much in the first place. Next up for damage heroes, we have Cassidy, who's seeing combat roll getting a buff. The damage reduction is being increased from 50% to 75%. So yeah, if you didn't know, Cassidy has damage reduction during his roll. The duration of roll is so short that you can never really tell if you're getting it or not, or getting the timing right for it, that most people probably aren't even aware that it is a thing that he can do. But yes, and now the damage reduction is being further increased to 75%. I think this is kind of stupid and unneeded. I think that Cassidy needs a few buffs, but why? Why combat roll of all things? I mean, I guess he can survive pulse bombs now, can also survive diva bombs. Just really weird changes I don't know why they're making. May they are completely undoing her rework that we had a couple seasons ago. Deep Chill, her passive, is being removed and she's now going back up to just dealing 100 damage per second and just having a 40% slow. So May's being changed back to how she was before. She's now going to be stronger to play as and not as obnoxious to play against, which I think this is actually a really good sign that Blizzard is willing to go back on failed reworks and not just force people to have something in the game that actively just hurt the character and also made her more annoying to play against. Next up, Torbjorn has his Rivet Gun primary fire being increased from 0.48 to 0.51 seconds. Very weird change that they decided that 0.03 seconds was apparently too much for Rivet Gun. It just seems really weird. A change I do not exactly understand, but now he fires around 6% slower, I believe. But yeah, just a very bizarre change for them to just be like, oh, 0.48 seconds? That's too fast. Make it 0.51. And then also Overload is seeing its overhealth bonus be decreased from 100 to 75, which I think is fair. Torbjorn already had a lot of health for a DPS hero. He had 250 with 50 of it being armor, having an ability that gave him an additional 100 was kind of insane, especially with all of the other stuff that Overload did, such as giving him extra movement speed and giving him a faster fire rate. Next up for support, we have Brig seeing Whipshot being buffed from 70 damage to 80 damage. I don't know why, and I don't even know what to say about it. Caesar gets 10 extra damage, Brig mains stay winning. Finally, we have Iliari seeing her secondary fire healing per second be reduced from 120 to 105, and I'm like, fair. It's fair. She healed a ton before. Now her burst healing is going to be a little bit less good. Fair. Next up, we have new options for different heroes. So just small quality of life things if you want them. I'm not going to go over all of them, but there are a lot of them for different heroes. For example, there's hold to use Terra Surge as Orisa, and that's her ultimate. You can change your input to cancel charge as Reinhardt. You can hide some of the UI timers for a bunch of different heroes, like the timer on commanding Sout. You can turn that off, you can turn it on. For Genji Dragon Blade, you can now melee with primary fire, secondary fire, or his quick melee. All of those buttons will now activate a swing of Dragon Blade. And again, he can now also hide the timer on Dragon Blade if you want to. Just a bunch of random things for different heroes. Next up, we have a map being updated, and that is Route 66. There will now be more pieces of cover for the attacking team to take advantage of around their spawn. Also, when you capture the first checkpoint while attacking, only one of the two doors will close, so the attackers have more options to go through. And there will also be fewer pieces of cover for the defending team on the second and third areas of the map. In addition, we also have the new map coming that I'm sure a lot of people have heard about, which is Samoa, a new control map, and it looks very nice. There's going to be a dedicated arcade card, so if you just want to try out the new map, just go to arcade. You'll find a queue for just playing Samoa, and it will also appear randomly in quick play and other unranked modes when the season first starts, and it will not appear in competitive play until later on in the season, so that people have time to learn the new map. So don't expect it immediately in ranked play. Next up for the event, we have Halloween Terror 2023. So the old Halloween game modes are returning. Junkenstein's Revenge is back, Wrath of the Bride is back, and then we have Trials of Sanctuary, a new crossover with Diablo, inspired by dungeon crawlers where you get to fight against enemies, power up your abilities, fight against bosses as you go deeper into the different levels of the dungeon. It just seems like something a bit fun for a few runs. If there are nice roguelike elements to it, such as the power-ups being different, the bosses being different, I could see it actually being a pretty fun game mode with a lot of replayability, but I have not gotten to try it out myself yet, so who knows. It has a lot of potential to be pretty fun. Now for other new things, we have Group Respawn, which is a new feature that's being added to the game because Blizzard thought that y'all motherfuckers can't communicate, so we're gonna force you to play together. So how Group Respawn will work is that heroes that die within 5 seconds of each other will all respawn together at the same time. So basically, instead of the respawn time being a flat 10 seconds, they're now going to fudge it a little bit so that it will force players to respawn together at the same time, so that people don't just trickle in. Because as they say, we think that team fights are some of the most enjoyable moments in our game, but we've all been in matches where team cohesion, or lack thereof, makes these moments a rarity. These matches often turn into stomps for the team that can't group up, and preventing stomps is a high priority for us. As such, this season, we're now modifying how heroes respawn for quick play. So yeah, if your whole team gets wiped within a 5-second span, you'll now get modified respawns that force you to all respawn at the same exact time. If someone dies more than 5 seconds from another player being eliminated, then they will still have the normal 10-second respawn. So hopefully this can help in a lot of games that just don't have any communication. It's also fair to note that these new changes are not going to be coming to competitive. However, if the changes are received well, then they will think about adding them to competitive in a later season. And now for what I think is the biggest change we have. You can now get banned for leaving quick play games. So as a quick rundown of how this system will now work, they've removed the 75% experience penalty that you normally get for leaving unranked games. Now, for how the penalty works, the game will look at the last 20 matches of Overwatch that a player has participated in. If you leave 4 out of the previous 20 games, then you will activate the first penalty threshold. The first penalty threshold is that you will be suspended for queuing for another match for 10 minutes. And leaving 6 out of the previous 20 games you've played will activate the second penalty threshold, which is where you will be suspended for 30 minutes if you leave a game. These penalties will only activate if you leave a game past getting to the threshold. So let's say you've left 6 of your last 20 games prematurely. As long as you don't leave another game prematurely, you will not get the suspension at all. And then, of course, once you play enough games so that your previous 20 games fall below the threshold, at that point, leaving a game will not give you a suspension at all. So it's the last 20 games that you've participated in, and then once you've left a certain number of games, then for each game you leave after that point, you will get a suspension from queuing for another game. So very interesting changes. I would actually love to hear what people think about this, because while I don't play Quickplay that much, I know a lot of people that do, and leavers have always been a problem. Even when I only play like a couple of games of unranked with friends for fun, there will almost always be leavers, or the match will be one-sided because someone just leaves and then it just turns into a steamroll after that because they were just down a player and were never able to regain that lost momentum. So I'd actually love to see what sort of an impact this has, not only on the experience of, you know, not being able to leave games, but also will just having this in place and keeping people in games reduce the amount of stomps and improve player experience. Actually very interesting to see. Next up, we have some of the skins for the new event. Can't really showcase these as I would like because I don't have access to the skins, so we're just gonna look through them all with either pictures from other content creators that do have access to them, or just from how they appeared in the trailer for Season 7. So going through them, we have just some Ilyari skin, probably the sickest Reinhardt skin we'll ever see, also an incredible looking Pharah skin, Wrecking Ball's true form, Mommy Moira. I look cool, but I'm not actually that cool because I only have 5 different customization options. Oh my god, is that Freddy Fazbear? Reskinned Fire Catboy looking Genji. We have Pink Mercy at home, Starbucks employee Bastion, Duck, also a duck, Metro, he didn't leave his wife left him, Capitalism, Michael Jackson, a doll. Wait, is that supposed to be a Bloodborne reference? Widowmaker after her husband has died, like right after he died. Hot Topic. Here, have a recolor. And also a very cool new thing that you can do with skins is that you can now have different loadouts set for them. In addition, what I think is probably the coolest feature that will actually make weapon charms more useful is that you can now set favorites and have an option to have it randomly pick a weapon charm from your favorites to have equipped onto your weapon. And what's also cool is that they have this for skins as well. So you can select a random skin from your favorites and you'll just get a random skin, I'm assuming, every time you load into a game. Actually, very cool. A new feature that I'm actually going to get a lot of mileage out of. Next up on the block for overpriced as fuck skins that are not worth it, we have the BlizzCon collection, celebrating, of course, BlizzCon. And it includes stuff from a lot of different Blizzard games, but particularly for Overwatch, you will be getting 1,000 credits, a Murkai weapon charm, a mystery name card. They're not even telling you what the name card is. That is just how good this BlizzCon collection is. And that's all the Overwatch stuff that you get for the Epic Pack, which is $29.99. Next up, we have the Legendary Pack, which includes everything from before, as well as the Season 7 Premium Battle Pass, and the Drowned Warrior Sigma Epic skin. And the Legendary Pack is $49.99. So yeah, if you want this Sigma skin, give them $50. God, such value coming from Blizzard these days. And yeah, unless I've forgotten everything, that should be everything coming with Overwatch. Season 7. Depending on when you're watching it, it's either not out yet or it just came out. So hopefully get out there, use this information to enjoy yourself. Subscribe if you haven't already. Please like the video as well. Let me know what you think about the update. And until next time, see ya.